Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Six Path Weeb. I'm thrilled to have you here as we dive into another exciting fanfic adventure. Today, we continue our story with Deku meets Naruko, Part 2. A quick note before we begin, the content on this channel is purely for entertainment and discussion. I do not own any of the anime footage used, and all rights belong to the original creators and copyright holders. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. It was late at night in the Midoriya household. The sun had long since sunk below the horizon, leaving the windows dark and quiet. In a small corner of the house, a single room was bathed in the warm glow of a desk lamp. A tiny figurine of All Might stood on the desk, keeping silent vigil over a notebook rapidly filling with careful notes. Young Naruko had been poring over a scroll for the fourth time in as many hours. She had been practicing in her room since she returned, determined to prove to her teacher that she could master the techniques he had shown her in just one night. But as she rubbed her tired eyes, the task seemed taller than she had imagined. It wasn't that the techniques were hard to understand, Naruko could visualize them perfectly. The tricky part was controlling the chakra. Hand seals shaped it with the correct intent, but releasing it properly was another matter entirely. She flipped open her notebook and scribbled down more observations about how her chakra reacted to the seals. Her past notes reminded her of the challenges she had faced. The first technique she attempted was the clone technique. In theory, it was simple. Most ninjas seem to have a natural instinct for shaping chakra, and for them, the technique was just about forming the seals and flaring their energy with focus. But for Naruko, it was different. She was too aware of every pulse of her chakra. When she tried to flare it, she instinctively tried to control it, and that only caused the clone to fizzle out in a puff of smoke. Still, she couldn't help smiling. "At least I can make smoke appear from nowhere," she whispered. The same difficulty applied to all the techniques. She couldn't stop thinking about the chakra she was producing. It was like a little red flag waving right in front of her eyes. Maybe, she thought, the problem wasn't her mind interfering, but that she hadn't learned to focus it yet. Perhaps she could channel her attention instead. She tapped her pencil on the notebook. What if I make a symbol from chakra on the back of my right hand while releasing it? She wondered. The idea seemed worth a try. Even if she didn't succeed perfectly, it might help her focus enough to make the technique work. Standing in the center of her room, Naruko readied her hands. Ram, snake, tiger, she moved through the seals slowly, her fingers still unpracticed. She filled each motion with a vivid image in her mind. Waves of chakra rippled and converged, forming a final shape. The seals were complete. Throwing aside all hesitation, she flexed her chakra, imagining a crude octagon glowing on the back of her hand. A sudden explosion of smoke filled the room, far larger than anything she had made before. When the smoke cleared, Naruko's eyes widened. There, staring back at her, was a near-perfect clone of herself. It was like seeing another pair of arms and legs, a second self to control. At first, the movements were stiff and awkward, but as she focused, the clone began walking smoothly, copying her intentions almost perfectly. Naruko laughed with delight. The strain wasn't so much in her chakra as it was in keeping her attention divided. She realized she might be able to manage a few clones at once, but more than that would become confusing. Every technique had its limits, but she had learned something important tonight. Eager to remember, she rushed to her notebook and recorded her discoveries. Then she looked around the room for her next challenge, the body replacement technique. This one relied on speed, allowing a ninja to switch places with an object almost instantly. It required careful perception, or she might collide with a wall. Naruko steadied herself, imagining the wicker basket in the center of the room. Tiger, boar, ox, dog, snake, she moved through the seals and focused her chakra into her forehead and eyes. She flared her energy, creating a symbol on the back of her hand, and then she surged forward. The air seemed thick as she moved so fast it almost disappeared. With a gentle grasp, she swapped places with the basket, landing perfectly where it had been. Smoke filled the room once more, and she felt the thrill of mastering yet another technique. Suddenly, the door swung open. Her mother's eyes widened in surprise as she took in the smoky scene. "Naruko. What's happening? Why is there smoke?" Inko rushed over, checking her daughter's shoulders as if to make sure she was okay. Naruko grinned sheepishly. "I was practicing, Mama. I wanted to show you tomorrow, but I got a little excited. I didn't know it would make so much smoke. I'm sorry." Inko's eyes filled with tears, but this time of pride rather than fear. "Practicing ninja techniques? My little Naruko," she whispered, amazed. Naruko performed the clone technique again, creating a smaller, gentler puff of smoke and a duplicate of herself. Her mother gasped in awe. "It's amazing, Naruko." "Look at you," Inko said softly. She smiled through her tears, realizing her daughter was pursuing something that made her truly happy. Glancing at the clock, Inko frowned gently. "But now it's late. Even for a ninja in training, you need rest." Naruko nodded reluctantly. "Okay, Mama. I'll finish in the morning." She switched off the lamp and climbed into bed, heart still racing with excitement. "Good night, Naruko," her mother whispered with a loving smile. A few moments later, after making sure her mother had returned to her room, Naruko switched on the lamp again, scribbling down every detail from tonight's practice. She knew tomorrow would bring more techniques to master, but tonight had been proof that she could do amazing things with focus, imagination, and a little courage. And with that comforting thought, she turned off the light and drifted into sleep, dreaming of the incredible adventures tomorrow might hold. Awareness surged back to Naruko with the sound of a single droplet of water hitting calm waters. She was underwater. The roar of the surrounding liquid filled her ears. Flailing frantically, she reached for the surface. Bursting upwards, she gasped for breath. Looking down, she realized with a start that the water was only a foot deep, if that. Had she been face down? Wherever she was, this place was strange indeed. Above her stretched an endless expanse of stars. The night sky looked like a sparkling ocean in this dream. "I've never seen the sky like this before. It's always cloudy or drowned out by city lights. Is this really a dream?" Naruko wondered. In the far distance, she could see 9 pillars rising from the tranquil waters, sending ripples in every direction. They were arranged in a perfect circle, and in the center was the only dry patch as far as the eye could see. Stepping onto this tiny island, Naruko jerked in fright as she saw black script lance out across the dream landscape. 9 strands patterned out to each monolith and began coiling around them. As quickly as it appeared, the script faded away, leaving only silence. What was that? This can't be a dream, it feels too real. I'm too aware of things. A moment later, 9 shapes emerged from the monoliths. They were formless at first, made of a strange, bubbling substance. Just from being near them, Naruko could feel an unbelievably potent chakra pressing against her. The sheer energy made her knees buckle. The beings slowly took form, solidifying into strange, magical creatures. Naruko's eyes widened in wonder. There was a 9-tailed fox with red fur and long, rabbit-like ears. An 8-tailed bull with purple hide and a missing horn. A 7-tailed beetle clad in a metallic shell with multicolored wings. A 6-tailed slug glistening with gentle fluids. A 5-tailed horse with pearly white fur and a dolphin-like beak. A 4-tailed monkey with a calm, sage-like appearance. A 3-tailed turtle with a jagged gray shell. A 2-tailed cat flickering between blue and black flames. And finally, a tanuki made entirely of shifting sand. "So, you're the new girl?" the 9-tailed fox said, her voice sharp but curious. "Well, have anything to say, human?" Before Naruko could answer, the burning blue and black cat spoke. "Kyubi, don't be so mean. She's never met anything like us before." The cat's flickering flames mesmerized Naruko. "Humph," the fox muttered, lifting her head and looking away. "Until she impresses me, she's just someone to watch." She turned and sauntered into the shadows. The octopus-like bull sighed and stepped forward. "I apologize for Kyubi. She can be difficult. First, you're probably thinking this is a dream, but unfortunately, it's real. We are physical manifestations of the small amounts of bijou chakra that Naruko's mentor sealed within you." "The bijou?" Naruko whispered. So these were parts of the great creatures her sensei had spoken about. The bull continued patiently, "All around you is the seal. Think of us as fragments of the original beings, not fully independent yet. One day, we will grow stronger. But for now, we are here to help you. So you are the bijou I may have to work with someday." Naruko frowned thoughtfully. "Why did sensei seal parts of you inside me?" "Simple," the bull said. "Another safeguard. When the original bijou fade, we will be backups, so our chakra can help guide your bond with us. It's a long shot, but it's all we have." The 2-tailed blue and black cat swished her tails and spoke gently. "Naruko, if we are going to work together, I'd like to know more about you. We're all very curious." "Eh? Sure," Naruko said, scratching the back of her neck. I like learning about heroes. I love studying their powers and dreams. My goal is to become a hero too, just like All Might. I don't really like arrogance, I guess." "Thank you," the cat purred. "It's good to hear from you directly. You're a kind girl, We'll be happy to work with you. You keep calling each other by the number of tails you have. Don't you have names? Naruko asked. We do have names, the red gorilla said with a soft voice, but we wanted to see your heart first. Now, it's up to you to show us your dedication. Impress us, and we'll reveal ourselves fully. Naruko nodded. Her sensei had told her they were ancient and wise. She would need to earn their trust. Will you tell me what each of you can do? She asked eagerly. I want to learn how to work with you. The armored beetle rumbled, that's why we've shown ourselves. We'll teach you how to understand our skills. But don't rush. There will be many nights ahead, and plenty of time to learn. Don't get ahead of yourself, brat, the sand tanuki scowled, pointing a shifting paw. You need to listen to sensei first. Grow your heart strong, then grow your power. With that, Naruko felt a gentle wave of chakra settle over her. Her eyes closed, and slowly, she drifted back into calm sleep. The morning on Sunday was unexpectedly lively. Izuku woke in a whirlwind of energy, so much so that Inko was struggling to keep up. After a hearty breakfast, her son began practicing in the living room. She sat on the sofa, watching as he moved his hands in strange patterns, his face full of concentration. She remembered what he had said last night, techniques, in the plural. That meant Naruko had given him more than one skill. Her curiosity sparkled, she had only seen one technique so far and wanted to see the rest, just to understand the depth of this mysterious power. Okay, here goes. This is the transformation technique, Izuku said. It's supposed to be the hardest to maintain because of both power and control. Inko leaned forward as she watched him run through a sequence of 3 hand signs. A ripple of tension passed over his body, and then a puff of white smoke filled the room. Izu? Are you okay? She asked, blinking as the smoke cleared. Where her son had been, a truly enormous figure now stood. Her eyes widened in astonishment. Naruko, dressed in the bright, colorful outfit of her hero persona, grinned proudly with a V for victory sign. Her golden hair shone in the sunlight streaming through the window, and for a moment, Inko could almost believe the legendary ninja had truly appeared. There were tiny differences, the tilt of the eyes, the way the outfit hung, but overall, it was remarkably convincing. What do you think, Kachan? It's pretty tricky to keep this form. It's the first time I've fully completed it. Izuku's excitement was written all over his face. It's amazing, Izuku. Inko felt tears prickling her eyes as she launched herself at him. She was barely able to wrap her arms around his transformed self. A physical transformation. What else could this chakra power do? The form melted back into Izuku in another burst of smoke. Hugging him tightly, Inko smiled, feeling the warmth of his joy. He had the brightest smile she had seen in years, since before he discovered he was quirkless. Memories of her own past mistakes surfaced, and she silently promised to do better, to always support him. I know, right? I knew Naruko-sensei wasn't lying. This power. It's incredible, Kachan. If this is just a small taste, the possibilities are endless. Izuku paced, frowning thoughtfully as ideas bounced in his mind. Ink. I'm happy for you, but please be careful. This power. It's strong, Inko said gently, her eyes soft with worry. I'll be careful. I have to get back to Naruko-sensei, she made a bet I couldn't complete the techniques. I can't wait to see her reaction. Izuku grinned, grabbing his coat and shoes. Always on the move these days, it seemed there was no slowing him down. What the? Naruko exclaimed, her mouth wide with surprise as she pointed at Izuku. Her eyes were wide, she could hardly believe what she was seeing. This child had learned the transformation, clones, and replacement techniques in just one day, executing them nearly flawlessly. Even the replacement technique, a bit rough, did nothing to diminish the accomplishment. Naruko was stunned. Not too hard, really, Izuku said, rubbing his foot shyly. The only tricky part was not focusing too much after the seals were done. Humph. Incredible chakra control. But that won't mean anything if your body can't handle it, Naruko replied, her voice carrying a hint of tough love. Your mental control is impressive, but your body must catch up. For the next few weeks, we'll focus on training your strength and endurance. Your chakra will learn to flow naturally through every movement, reinforcing your muscles and stamina. Talent alone isn't enough. Izuku's face brightened, a small smile tugging at his lips. Now, run laps around the clearing. Don't stop until I say so. With determination, Izuku ran, circling the trees. Soon sweat dotted his brow, but Naruko noticed his chakra beginning to settle, flowing more naturally as he moved. It wasn't perfect yet, but it was progress. Midoriya-chan, wait a moment, Naruko said after a while. Focus your attention elsewhere. Let your chakra move naturally. Izuku frowned. I'm trying, but it's like learning to ignore a new limb. It's distracting. Naruko chuckled softly, tapping her walking stick on a nearby rock. Then I'll give you something else to focus on. She placed her hand on his shoulder, weaving her chakra around him. Black script appeared on his arms for a moment before fading away. Izuku nearly collapsed, but Naruko's encouragement helped him rise again. Your simple walk is now a challenge, she explained. The gravity feels 50% stronger than usual. You must keep going, even with this added weight. Izuku groaned, but he obeyed, trudging across the field. Naruko's trained eyes noticed his chakra moving more smoothly now, finally beginning to harmonize with his body. By late afternoon, the sun dipped behind orange clouds, and the two returned to the temple for tea. Scrolls filled with chakra theory were stacked on the table. Izuku looked exhausted but proud. He had completed 6 laps in total, yet his spirit remained unbroken. You did well today, Midoriya-chan, Naruko said warmly. Tomorrow, after school, we'll start on weapons and taijutsu. Don't tell your mother, or she'll chase me down for sure. Izuku nodded, laying his head on the table with a soft thump. He glanced at the pile of scrolls. And it still isn't over yet, kiddo, Naruko teased, tapping the first scroll. There's plenty more to study. Yes. Sensei, he murmured, determination glinting in his eyes. No techniques for now, considering how quickly you learn them. I'll generally be leaving you to practice from the scrolls. There are a couple of meditation exercises in here which might help you focus. Naruko grinned quietly to herself. She had sneakily included all the same meditation methods Fukasaku-sama had taught her long ago. Hopefully, starting these early would make a big difference later. For now, perfect the exercises you have. I want you to be able to do them whenever you need. Sensei, did people in your world really train like this all the time? Her student asked, his expression a mix of curiosity and nervous excitement. Well, I remember 2 particularly energetic friends, Naruko said, a playful sparkle in her eyes. They would wear weights like you, and then, run around the entire village, on their hands. She couldn't help but laugh at the memory. Guy and Lee were probably shouting about energy and youthfulness somewhere even now. But that's inhuman. The student gasped, eyes wide in disbelief. If only he knew just how far fun and determination could stretch. Kid, you don't know half of it, Naruko said with a soft laugh. Now, it's about time you went back to your mother. She'll be wondering where you are. She watched fondly as he carefully packed the scrolls into his backpack. I'll see you tomorrow, Sensei. Oh, and try not to sit outside too long again, he said, frowning a little. It wasn't his fault the meditations made him forget where he was. Darn it, kid, I'll sit wherever I like. Naruko called after him, chuckling as he waved and ran off. Once the path was clear, she shook her head and turned her thoughts to the challenge of teaching her student about real skill. It was one thing to learn the exercises and forms, but quite another to apply them in tricky situations. He needed experience that went beyond the scrolls, and with her current energy levels, she wouldn't be the one to demonstrate it today. Well, she said with a determined smile, time to call in a few favors. Maybe it's about time that Sasuke wannabe returned the favor for all the help I've given him. It was Monday morning, and the Midoriya household was, as always, a swirl of organized chaos. Naruko Midoriya dashed around, tugging on her socks while juggling a slice of toast in her mouth. Her mom, Kachan, was running after her with the lunchbox, trying not to trip over the scattered shoes and backpacks. Hey! You're going to be late. Come on, Naruko. Kachan called, her dark green hair sticking up in all directions as if it had a mind of its own. She kissed Naruko on the cheek just as she bolted out the front door. Bye, Kachan. Naruko waved back, heart racing as her feet carried her down the street. Somehow, it all felt easier today. Her movement seemed lighter, smoother, as if some invisible wind was guiding her. It reminded her of what her sensei, Naruto, had said about chakra, the magical energy inside every ninja that could be shaped and sent out into the world. Yesterday, Naruko had stayed up late studying the scrolls at home, soaking up everything she could about how chakra worked. It was incredible, she could sense now that chakra wasn't just energy, it was a key to doing almost anything if she learned how to focus it. Naruko remembered reading about past heroes, especially one named Namikaze Minato. He was said to move so fast he could appear in multiple places at once. Naruko felt a spark of excitement. Speed wasn't just about moving quickly. It was about having the freedom to do amazing things and help people. Maybe, she thought, she could do that too. Her thoughts were interrupted as she approached Arudera Junior High. The school loomed ahead, bustling with students practicing quirks and laughing in groups. Naruko's chest tightened a little. She wasn't just any student anymore. She had purpose now, and that purpose gave her courage. She could face challenges, protect herself, and maybe even help others. Inside the classroom, chaos reigned. Students demonstrated their quirks, laughing and showing off. Naruko's childhood friend, Katsuki Bakugo, sat in the middle of the room, scowling at the chalkboard like it had personally offended him. Around him, his usual friends, more like loyal followers, waited for his next explosive outburst. Naruko quietly slipped into her seat, pulling out her notebook. She loved to doodle and sketch out chakra techniques, imagining them in motion. But before she could start, a familiar hand slammed her notebook closed. She looked up into the piercing eyes of Katsuki. "Why do you bother with this? Every time I see this trash, it makes me mad," he growled, glaring at her notes. Naruko's heart pounded, but she didn't back down. She gripped Katsuki's wrist before he could grab the notebook again. Her chakra bubbled inside her, calm and steady, like a tiny river gathering strength. "Hey Katsuki. I'm not afraid anymore," she said, her voice clear and strong. He froze, surprised by the determination in her eyes. For once, she wasn't the timid girl he could push around. She was someone new, someone who could protect what mattered to her. The teacher passed by just in time, giving both of them a firm look. "Take it elsewhere, you two. The classroom is for learning, not fighting." Katsuki huffed, clearly annoyed, but didn't press further. Naruko carefully reopened her notebook, her fingers brushing over the sketches of chakra flowing through hands, forming shapes and patterns. She felt a quiet pride. Today she had stood up for herself, and nothing had exploded. For Naruko, this was just the beginning. She still had to navigate her tricky friendship with Katsuki, but she knew something important now. She had a power inside her, not just to fight or win, but to grow, learn, and protect. And maybe, one day, that power would let her soar faster than anyone could imagine. It was the dawn of a new Naruko Midoriya, a girl with courage, curiosity, and a heart ready for adventure. Strangely, she didn't see Kachan for the rest of the day. Naruko wasn't even teased during lunch, which had usually been her usual torment. He must have skipped the rest of classes as well, for he did not return to the classroom. Overall, the school day had been surprisingly calm, with most of Kachan's friends keeping their distance after the little showdown earlier. Naruko knew better, though. This quiet was just the eye of the storm. Kachan would never tolerate such defiance from someone like her, and she knew she would see him after school. So, she spent most of her afternoon trying to prepare herself, mentally and physically, for whatever playful challenge he might throw her way. Exiting the school gates, she headed toward the shrine. She hadn't managed to take more than a few steps when someone suddenly grabbed her from behind and spun her around. There, standing with a mischievous grin, was Kachan. Naruko stepped back, her heart racing, not with fear, but with excitement. "Kachan, what are you up to this time?" she asked, her fists gently clenched in a ready stance. Kachan's eyes glimmered like firelight as he gestured toward her with exaggerated drama. "So, the Deku turned Naruko thinks she's all grown up, huh? Think you can handle me now?" Naruko grinned. "I've changed, Kachan. I'm not the same as before. You can't surprise me anymore." For a moment, Kachan froze, his expression unreadable. Then, with a dramatic whoosh, he sprang forward, not to hurt her, but to challenge her in a playful test of speed and agility. Naruko leapt nimbly to the side, narrowly avoiding his outstretched hand. She twirled and darted forward, her own hands poised like she was about to perform a fancy dance. Each movement was precise, playful, and full of energy. Kachan matched her every step with exaggerated theatrics, laughing and shouting as if they were both characters in an epic story rather than mere students in an alley. She dashed past him, lightly tapping his shoulder as he spun in surprise. "Gotcha!" she called, giggling. Kachan stumbled but caught himself, his wide grin showing that he was enjoying the challenge more than anything. The playful duel continued, both of them dodging and weaving, tagging and evading, until finally, they collapsed onto a nearby bench, laughing and panting from the fun. Naruko sat up, brushing imaginary dust from her sleeves. "See, Kachan? I've got skills now. I can keep up with you." Kachan gave a dramatic groan, pretending to be exhausted. You've really changed, Naruko. I didn't think you could move that fast." Naruko smiled warmly, feeling proud but also grateful for the friendly challenge. I'm not afraid to try anymore. Not with friends cheering me on. After catching their breath, Naruko remembered her next destination. Time to head to the shrine. Sensei promised some extra training today, she said, excitement bubbling in her voice. I want to see how much I've improved. The shrine was peaceful under the warm afternoon sun. Torii gates framed the path, and Naruko felt a wave of calm as she climbed the steps. At the top, the familiar figure of the old master awaited, his eyes sharp but kind. Ah, Naruko, he said with a gentle smile. You've grown a lot. Today, we'll practice control, focus, and a little bit of fun challenges. Are you ready? Naruko's eyes sparkled. Yes, sensei. I want to do my very best. Nearby, Shouta Aizawa watched with quiet curiosity. He had been called to oversee this new generation of students and was unsure at first about how much energy Naruko really had. But as she moved with determination, grace, and joy, even his stoic expression softened. The old man chuckled. Don't worry, Aizawa-kun. She's special. With a little guidance, she'll be ready for anything that comes her way. Naruko took a deep breath, ready to step into the next adventure of her journey. Her heart was full of courage, her mind sharp, and her spirit bright. Today was just the beginning. As Izuku trudged up the stairway leading to the shrine, a curious, wispy sensation danced across his skin. Pausing, he looked up at the clear blue sky. How strange, it wasn't the familiar prickling feeling of someone watching him. No, this was different. He closed his eyes, turning inward to sense his chakra. The ripples beneath his awareness were unusual. Someone, or something, was brushing against his chakra, but it was enormous, powerful, as if a giant were plucking the strings of a delicate harp. There was only one person who could do this, Naruko-sensei. If Izuku knew her, she was testing him intentionally. Sheathing his worry and focus, he spiked his chakra to meet hers. Slowly, the ripples subsided, leaving a calm, quiet stillness. So you could sense other people with projected chakra, or use it like a sonar? Izuku's mind raced. He quickly scribbled notes in his battered notebook, imagining how such a skill could be used. With previous studies of quirks and their strange powers, he felt he was standing on the edge of discovering something remarkable. Arriving at the temple, his thoughts still tangled in possibilities, Izuku noticed Naruko-sensei waiting. But she wasn't alone. A figure stood beside her, tall and shadowed, with dark hair falling in soft waves over a sharp, thoughtful face. She wore a black coat, dark pants, boots, and a scarf coiled over her shoulders with yellow goggles perched on top. Izuku, you've arrived, Naruko said, her warm smile hiding a hint of concern. I sensed your chakra stirring not long ago. I trust everything is well? Yeah. I suppose, everything is fine. I had a disagreement with an old friend on my way here. I left him on a park bench, he should be fine. Izuku winced at how small and clumsy it sounded. The shadowed figure beside Naruko frowned as if confirming some suspicion. I see, well, boys will be boys, I suppose, Naruko said lightly. Then she gestured to the dark figure. But now I want you to meet someone who will help me teach you. This is Shouta Aizawa, a teacher from UA, and he has kindly agreed to guide you. He'll give you a taste of what it's like to face a real challenge. Izuku's eyes widened. A UA teacher? That meant he was also a pro hero. I'm honored to meet you, Aizawa-sensei. My name is Izuku Midoriya. Please take care of me. Save the politeness. Not even 2 days in, and you're already using your powers for the wrong reasons, Aizawa said, his piercing black eyes locking onto Izuku. The boy squared his shoulders, determined not to falter under the stern gaze. Naruko smiled encouragingly at him. Don't worry, Izuku. I believe in you. Let's see what you can do. She turned and started toward the training grounds, her cane tapping a steady rhythm on the stones. Come along, both of you. We've got work to do. The wind swept across the clearing, carrying leaves in playful spirals. Above, Aizawa observed quietly, scarf coiling and uncoiling as he studied the boy. Izuku stood tensely, heart thumping like a drum. I don't know why Naruko-sensei picked you. So far, you show no real potential, Aizawa said, his scarf uncoiling, ready like a living weapon. Izuku's hands clenched. I may be young, but I won't back down. His voice sounded braver to him than he felt. Naruko, watching from the outcrop above, tapped her cane in rhythm with the wind. Enough posturing, Hajime. She called. Aizawa lunged forward, scarf stretching with uncanny speed. Izuku braced, but instead of fear, he felt clarity. Time seemed to stretch, and he dodged with surprising swiftness, spinning and weaving as if the air itself guided him. Naruko called out, "Izuku, I see you've borrowed the substitution technique. Well done. But this is a test of your own strength, without your chakra-enhanced perception. Keep your eyes sharp and rely on what your body can do." Izuku froze for a heartbeat. No chakra powers? Then, taking a deep breath, he looked at the ground, clenched his fists, and planted his feet firmly. He would fight with courage, with determination, and with heart. Naruko smiled from above. She knew Izuku's potential wasn't just in his powers, it was in his spirit. And today, that spirit would shine brighter than any technique ever could. Izuku hit the ground and bounced several times before finally coming to a stop. His body felt like it had been twisted into a knot, and every movement sent tiny shocks of pain through his arms and legs. Slowly, he pushed himself to his feet. Across from him, Aizawa-sensei stood perfectly still, his black eyes observing him with an unshakable calm. Raising his fists once more, Izuku braced himself, ready for whatever Aizawa might do next. The man moved astonishingly fast. Without the help of chakra, Izuku finally realized just how incredible Aizawa's speed really was. He had heard of heroes who were fast, but seeing Eraserhead in action was a revelation. Known for capturing villains with unmatched skill and precision, Aizawa-sensei's quirk might have been formidable, but in this moment, it was his sheer movement that left Izuku awestruck. A smile crept across Izuku's face despite the aches. Even without Naruto-sensei's gift of chakra, he thought, he could still aspire to be strong. What's so funny?" Aizawa asked, his voice flat but curious. I am just thinking about how amazing you are," Izuku said, still grinning. "You can do all of this without any special powers. That's incredible." "You're one strange kid, Midoriya," Aizawa muttered. His gaze shifted toward the cliff where Naruko-sensei sat, watching quietly. "I think I've seen enough, Aizawa-kun," Naruko said, her voice warm and gentle. "Let's return to the temple and have some tea." Aizawa nodded slightly at Izuku and followed the two teachers back to the temple. Though sore and exhausted, Izuku felt a spark of pride. He had impressed them, even if just a little. "You, Izuku, remind me of my old friend Sasuke," Naruko-sensei said, pouring tea for them all. "Like him, you react quickly and focus on defense. But you also have a patience and curiosity that he lacked. I have a few training styles that might suit you, but in the end, it will be Aizawa-kun who pushes your limits." "You aren't without potential," Aizawa-sensei admitted grudgingly. "With enough work, you might become a capable fighter." Izuku felt a little better, though his body still ached. "Thank you, Aizawa-sensei." Naruko-sensei sipped her tea thoughtfully. "Over the next year, before you enroll at UA, we will train you diligently. Aizawa-kun will guide you in combat, and I will teach you about chakra. But it will be up to you to decide what to focus on." She gestured to a small library in the temple. "This holds all the knowledge about chakra I've collected over my lifetime. Study it as much as you can. Take initiative, and it will guide you." "Yes, sensei," Izuku said eagerly. "Now, come here," Naruko-sensei said with a gentle smile. "I can't have you going home in this state." Izuku shuffled over, wincing. She placed a hand on his shoulder, and green chakra began to flow gently from her palm, wrapping him in a warm, soothing glow. Slowly, the aches and bruises melted away, leaving him feeling whole again, though still a little tired. "Rest well tonight, Izuku," she said. "A long year of learning awaits you." Izuku bowed deeply. "Thank you, sensei. And, Aizawa-sensei, I'm really glad I got to fight you tonight. Good night." "Sure, kid," Aizawa replied. As he walked home, Izuku felt a thrilling sense of the future rushing toward him. "I hope Mom isn't too upset I came back late," he muttered, smiling to himself. Back at the temple, Naruko-sensei chuckled softly. "That boy, he is truly determined. He never gives up, no matter how many times he falls." "Determination runs in his family," Aizawa remarked dryly. "Yes," she agreed, sipping her tea. "And he has shown great skill with chakra already. He will learn quickly if he works hard. Perhaps, he is capable of even greater things." The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the world in twilight. Naruko-sensei and Aizawa-sensei watched Izuku's tiny figure disappear down the path, hopeful that this young boy with so much courage might one day achieve something remarkable. "Do you think he can handle the challenge ahead?" Aizawa asked quietly. "We will find out," Naruko-sensei said, a soft smile on her face. "But I believe in him." Dear YouTube family. This is all for now. If you enjoyed the content, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world and keeps the journey going. Thank you for watching. Regards. Six Path Weeb.